If you're listening to Dinner with the King, then you are definitely a fan of old school wrestling. You love to hear stories from the wild and crazy 1980s, when the titanic struggle between the territories and national expansion took place. Imagine if there was a cable TV drama like you'd see on Netflix or HBO that showed this era. That day has come. Kings of the Ring is the first audio drama podcast based on wrestling. It's a fictional retelling of the history and lifestyle of the 1980s wrestling industry, while following the rise and fall of the kings and power brokers of that day, all written and produced like a cable TV drama. Search Kings of the Ring from any podcast app or go straight to the website kingsotr.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kings of the Ring.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. Before we get this week's episode up and running, I'm going to let you know about everything that's happening on podavenue.com, home of Jerry Lawler's podcast, Dinner with the King, but also home to two other Memphis Wrestling-centric podcasts. First, you want to talk about behind-the-scenes stories, why certain things were booked. Well, you got to check out Booking Memphis Wrestling with Jerry Jarrett and Sean Reedy each and every week. You can find it on podavenue.com/Memphis. And get the behind-the-scenes stories when it comes to classic Memphis wrestling. Also, check out Randy Hale's podcast, Memphis Memories. That's right, Randy Hales does a deep dive into classic Memphis wrestling. He's been in the business for a lot of years, also about Power Pro Wrestling. And in the coming weeks, he's going to be doing a deep dive. And we all know about Randy's deep dives on the Southern Heavyweight title. Looking forward to those episodes at podavenue.com/Hales. And for those who stuck around, because I know a lot of people, fast forward through the prefaces or the ads on the show. Well, for the people who stuck around, for the people who are listening to this right now before we start the show, Dinner with the King is giving a makeover. That's right, a new logo for Dinner with the King. Now you might, when you see this logo, for those hardcore wrestling fans, you'll definitely know what logo we kind of, used in our new logo. But it's colorful, it's vibrant, and we partner with a great company to provide some stickers, some mugs, some shirts, some hoodies that you can purchase and rock out with the new Dinner with the King logo. So look for that in the coming weeks. Whew. All right, let's get the show started, shall we? Here's a new episode of Dinner with the King, Jerry Lawler.
The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Episode 87 of Dinner with the King. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. King, spring break was last week. Gave you the week off to soak in the rays down in Florida, right?
Yeah, well, let me stop you right there.
I'm sorry, Alabama. I'm sorry.
There were no rays. It was it's crazy, but Peyton's school had spring break like 3 weeks before the start of spring. But we went on spring break week before last. And so we ventured down to the Gulf Shores. We did go over into Florida. It's right. It's called, there's actually a place called Floribama. You ever heard of that?
I think I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like the state line there between Florida and Alabama. And it's there's Orange Beach, and then there's all of these little not resort places, but just beach areas right there in between Alabama and Florida. I don't know. We had we rented a condo, and so it was real nice. It was like 4-bedroom condo and that sort of stuff. But the weather did not cooperate at all. It was cool. I won't say cold, but it was cool. Not like you would think it should be on a beach. Waves were like 8 feet high, just like coming in like crazy. And it was foggy in the mornings. I mean, up until like in the afternoon, it was like really foggy, and misty rain a couple days. So all in all, not a great weather spring break, but we had a good time. Had fun.
Now, I heard through the grapevine, King.
Oh, wait a minute. Not the dreaded grapevine.
I heard through my sources.
Yeah.
That you played Fortnite for 2 hours.
Well, that is definitely a major break in the grapevine or something.
Watch Fortnite for 2 hours.
Yeah, well, that's definitely wrong, too. I did watch Peyton play Fortnite for maybe 15 minutes, long enough for him to get killed twice. And if you know Peyton playing Fortnite, that's not very long.
Peyton, when I think when the Browns got Beckham, which we haven't talked about at all, Odell Beckham Jr. to the Browns, is a major breaking story when it comes to Jerry and I, because we're huge Browns fans, and we don't delve into sports that much on the podcast. We might have to a little bit later on. But Peyton called me and he was like, "Oh yeah, Jerry sat and watched me play Fortnite for a couple hours." I was like, "What? Was he sleeping?"
Well,
Jerry does not like Fortnite.
Well, the bad thing was the only big good TV, not the only good TV. I mean, we had TVs in our bedroom and everything, but the main TV was the only one he could hook his, whatever that is, you have to play Fortnite on his computer or whatever. Yeah. So we let him use that. And he took a little buddy with him, Seth, and so they were doing a little Fortnite. Yeah. And what they did, I guess the reason it did take a while, they were going through and saying, you pick out the skin. Is that it? What it's called?
Oh, yeah, the skin, the character.
You pick up this character, right? And so you're a Fortnite guy.
I play Fortnite. I'm not going to deny it. Yeah.
Who do you think I settled on?
No,
after looking through all the skins.
Well, I know it wasn't a male skin.
What do you mean? How do you know?
No, Jerry. I want to say it was Calamity.
Calamity. How did you... She was wearing these little Daisy Duke shorts and everything. Yeah, Calamity. I made him be Calamity, both boys.
Well, the view when you play the third person view when you play Fortnite, it gives you a good view.
Yeah.
So
what? Yeah, they're animated characters. Glenn,
they're not real. They're not real, really?
No, they're not real.
God. I've been searching.
And, speaking of the Fortnite, I don't know if it was Odell Beckham or was it Johnny Manziel or somebody got in a beef with their teammates for calling them out because they were playing Fortnite during a game. Or was it a baseball? Who was that? That
was a person you know very well. That was Carlos Santana of the Indians.
Oh, that's right, baseball player. Yes, it was. I saw that on the Sports Center or something.
So in Philadelphia, when Santana signed with the Phillies have not been good. They were not good when Carlos was there, which was like last year. I think it was only for 1 year he was there.
Right.
I guess during the game, guys.
During the game they were playing.
They were playing during the game. They would, guys who weren't playing, they would go in the clubhouse, which is different than the dugout. There's a tunnel that leads from the dugout to the clubhouse, so the locker room is for people who don't know. And they have TVs, they have, boom boxes, they have video games, anything you can imagine,
yes.
For guys in the clubhouse. For
and their catering is amazing. Oh, it's almost as good as the WWE's. I mean, I was in the Indians clubhouse a couple times, and one time they just huge trays of the greatest looking, best looking sushi you've ever seen, just sitting there for them, and all that sort of stuff. But it's funny, that he called those guys out for playing like during the game, but apparently they weren't in the game. I don't think.
No,
right?
They weren't playing the game. They were out of the game, but they weren't. Focus on the game. They would go back on the clubhouse and play Fortnite. Well, I guess after a game when they lost, Carlos Santana was not too pleased. He went to the TV and smashed the TV. So no more Fortnite for the players on the TV because, he smashed the TV.
Yeah, he smashed the TV. That's going a little, maybe going a little bit out of line, but he was upset. I don't blame him. But you know what? It's funny. You remember I've told you this before. When Travis Hafner was playing with the Indians, and he'd be actually in the game. I've had him call me on the phone while he was a designated hitter, actually text me, not call me. He would text me, and I'd send him a text message. I said, aren't you in the game right now? And he would text right back, say, yeah, but you got to do something while you're just sitting there on the bench, waiting to bat. So he would be texting people.
Well, that reminds me of a time. This is when I kind of first met you, and we were just texting about Cleveland sports and whatnot. And it was, I think the Indians were playing a late game, a later than usual game, and I'm watching Raw. It goes to commercial, and I get a text, and it's from you.
Yeah. Oh, all the announcers text all during.
Oh yeah, and I was like,
Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, everything.
It was like the first time I got a text from you during Raw when you're doing commentary, and I was like, "What the heck?" And you go, "Hey, what's up, man?" I'm like, "Nothing. Aren't you doing commentary?" And you're like, "What's the Indian score?" How they doing? What's the Indian score?
I texted Michael Cole last week during Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something happened on the show, and I just sent him a text, and he immediately just texted me back the answer, just right there.
Do they have cameras on you guys? I mean, I know
Yes. Yeah, there is the camera on you.
Yeah, so they don't care if you text or
no.
Well, that's good.
No, WWE is so into social media. They don't. Well, you probably shouldn't tell them that you're texting. They probably think you're tweeting. They love it. They don't mind you tweeting and being on social media while you're doing the show. Really, it's not that bad.
So each person has a camera on them, so Vince or whoever can watch you.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Jesus.
I remember one time. I think I told you this story one time. Back to Travis Hafner. This was during WrestleMania. I had gotten Travis Hafner to. And this it wasn't me, folks, so don't get any ideas and start hitting me up for WrestleMania tickets or anything. It just worked out that at the last minute, Travis Hafner, on the day of WrestleMania, I think we were out in Phoenix or something. On the day of WrestleMania, Travis called me up and said, man, I'm off. I took the Indians were playing a night game in spring training, and he took the night off so he could try to come to WrestleMania. So I just hit up our media guy, our ticket guy, Steve Rubin, and I said, man, got a good friend. Is it any possible way? Is there anything you can do? And just, I don't know how, but somehow he came up with 2 tickets for Travis Hafner on the front row.
Jesus.
WrestleMania. Yeah, right? And so then sitting 2 rows back behind on the 3rd row is AJ Przinsky, right?
Yeah.
Who plays for at the time was playing for the Chicago White Sox. And so all of a sudden I look down and I'm getting a text message from AJ, right? And it said, thanks a lot for comping Hafner better tickets than I paid $1,500 for.
Jesus.
I went, and you know what I said? I said, well, you play for the White Sox and not the Indians.
Oh my God. Well, I know WWE, they have a block of the first. On the hard camera side, there's a couple rows that they have for family for each of the matches.
Yeah.
Family, people, family of the guys in that match come down and watch the match. And then when that match is over, they rotate the next family in.
Yep, so, they get to trade out. You're right.
So for Miz, when I go to WrestleMania, with Miz's friends and family or whatever, when I go, sometimes, they brought Miz was in the greatest Royal Rumble, not the greatest, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal back in 2014, I think it was.
Yeah.
So they brought down, Miz's friends. So we went down to the first row. We were sitting first row for the match, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So when they rotated it out, a couple of Miz's friends and I, we saw there was empty seats for the whole match in the second row behind the commentators table, behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, we were like, we should just sit here until someone comes. We'll just sit here and, until somebody comes, and we'll just, blend in. So we sat there for like 3 matches.
Jeez.
Second row. And I'm just like, oh my God, this second row for WrestleMania. I'm going to pay a dime. This is like $10,000 seats.
Did somebody all of a sudden come up and want seats?
No, they wanted to go back up to the Friends and Family catering room and watch it from there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they wanted to go back up. So I didn't want to be the loner, the guy by myself sitting there. So I went back up. But we saw like John Cena versus Bray Wyatt and a few other matches. So, I mean, those seats are expensive and very hard to come by.
Yeah. One time, Lauren, it was at the I'm the world's worst on remember the numbers of the WrestleMania, but at the WrestleMania where The Rock came out let's see. Well, of course, Rock's come out a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But Ronda Rousey was on the front row. Remember, she got in the ring and they did the little
2015. San Francisco, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Lauren has met with me and become friends with Leah Maivia, which is The Rock's grandmother.
Right. And
she comes to. It was great. I met her when she was promoting. She owned the territory in Hawaii, and she was promoting Hawaii. And I went down for, this had to be back in the 80s. And I went down like 7 or 8, I think we talked about this one time, 7 or 8 weeks in a row and worked in Hawaii there at the Blaisdell Arena on Honolulu. And so anyway, I've known her ever since, became really good friends with Leah Maivia. And I introduced her to Lauren. And anyway, during that time, like you said, it was time for the Rock segment. So they were gathering up the people with the Rock's family. And so Leah Maivia told Lauren, says, come on down and sit on the front row with us. So she's like, oh my gosh. So she got to go down and she winds up sitting almost like right next to Ronda Rousey. So she was a huge Ronda fan at the time, so she got to have her picture made with Ronda Rousey and all that sort of stuff and sit on the front row during that whole little episode there, which was really, really cool. Yeah. And you know what? I really didn't even realize that they did that stuff until that night. Afterwards, during the match, I look over and there's Lauren sitting on the front row and I'm like, whoa, I just give her a look and she just shrugged her shoulder and pointed at Leah Maivia, so I said, okay. But anyway, yeah, that is a cool thing.
Yeah. It's, if nobody has sat ringside for WrestleMania, it's quite the spectacle because you're just in this huge, especially in New Orleans, it's just a huge, stadium and you're on the floor and it's very, if you're a wrestling fan, you need to do it if you have the money.
Yeah,
if you have the money.
Nothing like it.
If you have the money, because it's.
Speaking of WrestleMania is almost on us here now.
Yeah, 10 matches are confirmed as of today. And there's
you know they're going to add some more. I think.
Yeah,
don't you?
Yeah. They have to add at least one more because.
You know what? I'm kind of I'm not right on the inside, but I speak to people every now and then, and I have heard. This is one of those grapevine things again, so it may not be true, but I've heard that they're looking at maybe a total of 13 or 14 matches. It's going to be the longest WrestleMania in history.
Jeez. Well, wasn't last year long? Last year was like 7 hours.
Yeah. How can it be longer than 7 hours?
Oh, my God. Well, they have 10 matches as of right now, so you're adding at least one more because I believe Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan will wrestle, so that's 11. So you're saying there's going to be a couple more added.
Well, that's just what I've heard. Who knows? But I mean, what do they do? Like when you say last year it was 7 hours, that included the pre-show and all of that stuff, didn't it?
Yep, the pre-show and the main show. The pre-show was like 3 hours long, I think. And then
there you go.
The main show.
And then the main show was 4 hours.
Well, I think it actually went over, so it was around 7.5 hours, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just... I mean, I love wrestling, but... Jesus.
I know JR and I called the Battle Royal early. That may have been the first or second match in the, of the night.
Yeah.
And then you're right. It seemed like I had grown a full beard and everything by the time the thing was over. It was just a long night.
Well, here's a question for you, King. Are you going to be involved with WrestleMania in any way?
Well, yeah, of course. I'll be there, and I would think, and this is what I was told. Another one of those things that I was told. I'm probably not supposed to put the word out there or whatever, but that I think when they're going to have 13 or so matches, they're going to have they're going to let some of the announcers take a break, or there's no way that even two crews could do all of those 13 matches. So. I think I'll be in there to spell somebody in a match or two.
So you'd be tagging in to relieve somebody.
Tag in. Come in, King. Tag in here.
Well, I know JR's JR would be gone by then. That's right.
He's gone now, I think.
Well, I mean, Officially the 29th.
Oh, no, you're right, the 29th. Excuse me.
So, but he'll be gone before WrestleMania. So,
yeah.
But it'd be nice to hear you and him call the Triple H Batista match, since that's a lot of history between those two guys and kind of old school. But
yeah,
it'd be good to hear you on the broadcast at least once. Were you doing the pre-show?
Probably doing the pre-show and a match or two during WrestleMania.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Well, Kurt Angle is having his retirement match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Against Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be Baron Corbin.
Oh, you don't?
I don't. I think it's all just, there's going to be a swerve.
Well, you know what? Honestly, who knows? I hope there is a swerve. I was kind of disappointed when I saw him announced, the great illustrious career he had. But there's one man. There's one man out of all of these wrestlers that I've faced in my entire career that I want to beat. And then when he said Baron Corbin, I went, huh?
Well, you got to continue the storyline, I guess.
I guess.
I like Baron Corbin.
But what do you think? No, I do too. But it seems like we've seen those guys fight for the last few weeks or be at each other's throat or whatever.
I was hoping it'd be John Cena.
Yeah, I had heard. Well, it may,
Oh, no.
This is bad. That's another one of those I had heard. But now that I think about it, I may have heard from you. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. No. But yeah, I you know what? That would be, to me, a great match.
Yeah,
I think that would be really cool.
Well, Cena's first match in WWE was against Kurt Angle. Then you have Kurt Angle's final match against John Cena. Come full circle. That would be great. I would enjoy seeing Angle, Cena at WrestleMania.
Now, how would that happen? What kind of swerve were you talking about? What in your mind? How would that happen?
How would are you asking me how I would book this?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me that.
Maybe have Corbin's or Vince getting involved, or have Corbin say I don't want to be your last match. I'm going to bigger and better things. I don't want to wrestle a has-been at WrestleMania or something like that, and he takes himself out of the match, and Kurt Angle has nobody to wrestle for WrestleMania. And it's
a terrible, terrible idea. That's not a good way to book that.
Well, how would you book it then, King?
Well, first of all, you can't call Kurt Angle a has-been when he's going into his last match. You just don't,
Well, you got to get a heel, the heel saying that.
No, that's not a good thing for the heel to say. I remember I would always tell you, like Jackie Fargo, who used to come to me and say, don't call me fat.
Yeah.
He said, don't ever tell the truth about somebody.
Okay.
So, don't call me old, don't call me fat. And he said, because how's it going to make you look when an old fat man beats you?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, yeah, you're right.
All right, so how would you book it then?
Well, I would let Vince. Well, I mean, here's the one thing. It's because, Kurt Angle and John Cena would both be fan favorites. So there would have to be a way, a logical way for that, those two to wind up going against each other. And I think the logical way would be, like, once again, Vince McMahon, be the bad guy and force. That would be a match that I would think John Cena wouldn't. It would be an honor, but I don't think he would necessarily want to be the guy that sort of retires, Kurt Angle.
Right.
But I just think that it would be something that Vince could force the two of them into. I can't see Glenn. I can't see John Cena coming out and saying, I want to be the guy that wrestles you in your last match.
Right.
I don't know. That's for the creative, the brains in the creative department to worry about.
And I
think that would be a better match.
Yeah. If it is Baron Corbin, kudos to him for getting a WrestleMania match against Kurt Angle. That's a big.
So Kurt Angle's first match in the WWE was against.
John Cena's. John Cena's first match.
Oh, John Cena's first match.
Yeah, it was against Kurt Angle, and now you're gonna have you could have Kurt Angle's final match versus John Cena.
Yeah, that would be. You know what? That would be enough right there to just come out and explain it logically like that. I think people would say, "Oh, wow, that's cool. I'd like to see that match."
Yeah.
Why not do something like that?
I don't know. Well, you got
who's Kurt Angle's actual first match when he was signed after he was signed with the WWE.
Wasn't it Taz? No, that wasn't Taz. Now you put me on the spot. Kurt Angle's first match. I'm typing it into the computer.
Well, this is after he signed.
Oh, was it with you?
No.
Okay. Kurt Angle's first match. Kurt Angle's WWE debut.
Well, wouldn't it be? I mean, if you're looking up WWE debut, that would be like the first match he had on TV or something in WWE.
Right. It was Survivor Series, 1999 against Sean Stasiak.
Well, you got to go back. You got to go back a little bit before that. You got to go back when they first signed him, and they sent him down to Memphis, which was their little bit developmental.
Was it against Kevin?
Yes,
that's right. It was against Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, my son Kevin. Crazy.
Was Kurt green?
He was the yellow jacket. Well, you couldn't tell how green he was because the match consisted of I think one suplex or something like that.
Yesterday I was watching some Kurt Angle stuff, and you weren't doing commentary for SmackDown. It was Michael Cole and Taz. It was during the Tough Enough when The Miz was on there and Daniel Puder was on there, Ryback. They were on Tough Enough, and Kurt Angle comes out. And back then I guess it was really tough. I mean, Kurt Angle went out there and was like in their faces saying, shut up, do these, squat thrusts. And then they had a match. He beat one guy, and then Daniel Puder comes in and wrestles with Kurt Angle, and Daniel Puder puts him in like an arm lock to break his arm, like he was legit going to break Kurt Angle's arm during SmackDown. And the ref panically, he does a 3 count really quick to stop the match because Kurt Angle was going to have his arm broken. And I guess Daniel Puder had some heat. Kurt Angle wasn't too pleased because it made him look soft because he lost to a guy that doesn't even have a WB contract. But Kurt Angle was a badass back in the day. He was, he still is, but he was ruthless aggression.
Ruthless aggression.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. The whole Vince McMahon Kofi Kingston storyline is pretty entertaining, though.
Yeah. Well, Kofi, it's like, and this is an example of what I was just talking about. Why not do things that are really logical and things that really almost really happen, realistic. And the fact that, hey, Kofi Kingston is a great talent and he's been there a long time, but it seems that he's just always been put on the back burner for one reason or other. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, it looks like everybody agrees with the fact that, hey, he deserves the limelight a little bit. But now all of us, it's just a great story that Vince is the guy that's trying to deny him that limelight any way he can. And Kofi's hell bent on getting it. So you're right. It's a good little storyline.
I mean, we all know what's going to happen. We all know that in the end, Kofi's going to get his title shot. But the way to get there has to be entertaining for people to be, sucked into the story itself, to be interested.
Wait a minute. That's not the right word. I like JR's word better.
What? Invested?
Don't say sucked in. They got to be invested.
Invested into the storyline. Yeah. I think a lot of people are, because Vince keeps coming out and putting a hurdle on a hurdle on a hurdle. And I think that's the way wrestling should be. You should have the baby face, chasing and having a heel authority figure blocking the path. Then, because when the face does get his match, it's relieving to everybody. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it.
Look, we're sitting here talking about WrestleMania, and I look down at my phone, and here I have my messages from a person who definitely, we're going to talk about the Warrior Award. This is a person who definitely should be in line for a Warrior Award in the future, because it's for people who are indispensable behind the scenes. Right. And I've talked about her before, Sue DeRosa.
Yeah.
Well, Sue Kandari now is. I've been there so long. Of course, she was there when I started in '92, but at that time her name was Sue DeRosa. Now she's gotten married and she's to Rocco Kandari, and I can't stop calling her Sue DeRosa. Yeah. Just like here in Memphis, I can't stop calling the University of Memphis State. I mean, it'll always be Memphis State to me, but it's been changed to the University of Memphis. But anyway, I just got a text from her. It says, "Hi, Jerry. Hope this finds you well. What do you need for your flights to WrestleMania?"
Oh.
She's great. She does she's done my travel up there since I've been there, and just I've often said I don't know if that company could stay afloat if something happened to Sue. She also does all the formats for the show formats for all the shows, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all of this stuff. She does all those formats on the days of the show, which is just yeah, it's a crazy job. But she's wonderful, wonderful person. And speaking of the Warrior Award, Sue Aitchison, another wonderful person behind the scenes up there for so many years, is going to be honored this year with the Warrior Award at WrestleMania. And man, there's not another more deserving person. She's been there a long, long time. She was there when I started in '92 as well. And just there's no way to talk about all the stuff that she's done for the company over the years.
Well, it's great to see WWE, use the Warrior Award to honor someone within the company, and not taking away anything from the people who, received the Warrior Award in previous years. But I think a lot of people, when they heard Warrior's speech, was, okay, you're going to honor people behind the scenes that, aren't in front of the camera. They aren't superstars, people that make the company what it is today. And it's great to see that they actually are honoring someone within the company.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, I think that's what the Warrior meant when they talked about the Warrior Award, and I think it is really good. And there are a lot of people. It's just if you really sit down and look and stop, there would be no way to count up how many people behind the scenes would be deserving of that award, because there's so many people that just the unsung heroes of the success that WWE has had over the years that never get not so much as a pat on the back.
All these different, we talked about Bruce Pritchard being on the writing staff. Do you know who else was hired to be creative?
Jeff Jarrett?
Well, Jeff Jarrett, I guess he has a huge voice in creative now. But for the women's side, Dana Warrior was hired to be in creative.
Really?
Yeah. As like a consultant for the women's storylines.
Oh, well, cool. Good for her.
Yeah. She's a part of it now. But WrestleMania is approaching. Last week was the anniversary of one of the greatest matches in WWE history. And you tweeted about it. A lot of people favorited it, retweeted it, and agree with you about the match. It's a match that I saw in person as well. You were doing commentary. It's WrestleMania 18 in Toronto back in 2002, and it was The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Oh, my goodness. It was a great match.
Yeah, it really was. That's exactly what I tweeted out, because I don't know, somebody had tweeted something about I don't know what, but I tweeted. Well, somebody had tweeted out about that it was the anniversary of that match, and I retweeted it and put in my little comment that I'd been asked many times throughout my career what was my favorite match to call with JR, and I've said that a lot of times. That was without a doubt my favorite match to call. It was just amazing. The crowd, the response, the two guys. It was like past against the present with The Rock and Hulk Hogan, and it was just an amazing match. Really was.
I drove all the way from my college dorm in Toledo, drove all the way through Toronto to Toronto for the match. Got a $50 ticket the night before.
What?
On eBay. Back when buying tickets on eBay was a thing. Got a $50 ticket and the upper deck, first row, and drove the whole day. And then right after the show was over, drove all the way back home just for the show. And it was probably the best WrestleMania I've ever been to in my life. It was just absolutely electric. The crowd was incredible, and the crowd really, like you said, hyped that match. Right. You had people booing The Rock, cheering for Hogan, even though Rock was the good guy and Hogan was the bad guy. It was nostalgia because Hogan was playing to the crowd, you're doing the old Hulk Hogan poses and stuff, and it was a passing of the torch. What they say is when Hogan raised The Rock's hand and passed the torch. Whatever people say that's the torch passing, but it was a great match, one I'll never forget, and I'm glad I saw it live. But you had the best seat in the house, you and JR.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I'm looking back right now at that tweet, and it got retweeted 196 times. over almost 1,700 likes on it and everything. But it said 4 really cool pictures in that tweet of the action in that match. Somebody tweeted that I had said during the match, "Is he going to Hulk up, JR? He is. He is." So anyway, that was some of the stuff from that match. Really good.
Was there ever a time in your career that, hey, you're the bad guy, good guy. You went to a town or somewhere and the crowd reacted the way that the opposite, kind of like that match with Rock and Hogan? Ever happened to you?
Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah,
many times.
So what do you do when you go out there and you feel the crowd out and they're going against what you?
This is kind of funny to mention, but I told you about one time that happened fairly recently against James
Ellsworth.
Ellsworth, yeah. I went to wrestle him in his hometown, but everybody, basically the crowd was like 90% for me, and so I just you just get the microphone and work the crowd a little bit, throw out a few one-liners, a few insults, and next thing you know, you can switch people really quickly if you got the mic in your hand.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure King dug deep into his insult book and really took the crowd. But no.
Well, actually, if you had seen that crowd, you didn't have to dig very deep.
Oh,
They were
man.
just, what is it?
Jeez.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how you do that.
Yeah. But that was an incredible match. 17 years ago this year that took place.
Wow.
Long, long time ago. You think The Rock would be at this WrestleMania?
Oh. I don't know. New York City? Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Probably a better chance he'll be at next year's WrestleMania, being in Florida.
Florida or California, there's a good chance he's going to be at those, but I don't know about New York City.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think it's a better chance we'll see Hogan at WrestleMania than The Rock.
That would be a good possibility, I think.
Roman Reigns, this is kind of like the main topic for the show. Roman Reigns in an interview said that an off-season in WWE would be beneficial for the superstars, taking a break. Not everybody at once, but a block of wrestlers would take a few months off.
No, now you and I talked about that before we started doing that. That was our idea.
That's our idea.
I think what Roman Reigns meant was, I think he was talking about the WWE having a season.
An off season.
An off season.
Right.
Yeah, like baseball, football, or whatever, where all of a sudden for a couple of months, there's no WWE. It's just on hiatus.
Jeez, that would be beneficial to stockholders and Vince.
No, well, yeah, but you know what? It works for every other sport.
Yeah.
Every other sport. But I think it's a good idea for the guys to get a break and for the guys themselves to have a little bit of an off season. But I wouldn't do it. I would do like you and I talked about, which was, take a certain block of wrestlers and let those guys have 2 or 3 months off. Maybe 2 months. That's enough of an off season. And let that happen to everybody throughout all the WWE superstars throughout the year. They would get, boom, a 2-month off season. And I think it would benefit everybody. I mean, it would let the wrestlers recharge their batteries. It'd let them get all rested up, get healed up. And the old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. It would make the fans. It's that old saying, how can I miss you if you won't leave? So it'd give the fans, give them a reason to miss these guys and want them back. And certainly they got enough talent to keep things going while a certain block are having their off season.
It would be fresh storylines. It would be pushed to different guys.
I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. So you're not saying WWE shuts down for
No. I think that's a bad idea. Bad idea.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be feasible for a $1 billion company to take 3 months off.
Bad idea.
Yeah. But I think it would be maybe a couple of top guys, a few mid card guys, to take 3 months off And then
I think 2 months is enough.
2 months? Okay. 2 months off. And then they come back, another block of people go the off season, and this rotates throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
All right, I can see that. I can see.
Why are you and I in charge of things here?
Well, we can't book. I mean, I can't book worth crap, but a few good ideas for people. I'm sure guys would love that. I mean, would you have loved that back when you wrestled?
Are you kidding? Of course. Everybody. I mean, you're still getting paid? Yeah.
Well, you want to get paid.
What?
I mean, baseball guys don't get paid in the off season.
Well, sure they do.
No, they don't.
Oh, come on.
Swear to God.
Well, I mean, you got your contract.
Well, yeah, you got your contract, but you're
not.
Well,
everybody in the WWE has a contract.
But but your contract is your checks are spread out through the times you are active.
Not true.
In baseball, that's the way it is. In football and basketball, you only get paid for the season. Guys who play in the postseason, they don't get paid either. They don't get paid. You only get your checks during the regular season. So you would not.
I realize that, but what I'm saying is, like Mike Trout, what did he just sign a $400 billion contract, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's going to get a check every week. I can assure you.
Not during the year. Not during the off season.
Oh gosh.
That's the way it goes. That's seriously. If we could call up Chris Perez right now, our buddy, former Indians baseball player, every week during the season they get a check. Every week.
Yeah.
And it's spread out. Like if your contract is for $3 million for the year, from April until October, that $3 million is spread out X amount of weeks. So during November, December, January till spring training, you're not getting paid.
Okay. Whatever you say.
You don't believe me?
I
covered it for 10 years.
Okay. No, I guess I do believe you. Yeah. But all I'm saying is if you got, if a wrestler at the WWE has $1 million a year contract, right? Well, then he gets a check every single week for whatever percentage that is of that $1 million.
Right.
And then if he gets 2 months off, he still gets his check. He's going to get his $1 million no matter what. Okay, so if he's still going to get your $1 million, you're just going to get a bigger check through the week than you would on the weeks that you're wrestling than you would during those 2 months that you're off.
Right, the 2 months, the $1 million percentage of those 2 months would be spread out between the checks of the other 10 months.
What's the difference? 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Well, they're not going to pay you for not working. If you're just sitting on your butt, they're not going to pay you, right?
I don't know. I know somebody that gets that. I don't know. Me, but
but you're wrestling is a full-time industry though. It's
a full-time industry for those guys too, the wrestlers.
I'm sure
they would
work
be
it out.
That would be no problem to work that out.
You're
gonna get your money.
You're gonna get your money no matter what.
Yeah.
And if you have a bigger contract and you take 2 months off, that's 10 months of the year that you're working and you're getting more money.
So now you think that WWE would use that as a negotiating ploy? They would say, "Look, you're only going to work 10 months, so we're going to pay you $800,000 instead of $1 million."
Well, there's no union in wrestling for WWE. There's no union, right? I mean, there's
right.
So I mean that would have to spark a union probably. It'll probably open a whole can of worms. It'll probably make it more complicated.
You know what? The other thing too, though, when you get up into that kind of money, almost all the guys now have agents. Which, if you got an agent, you don't really need a union. They're gonna negotiate for you. That's almost the same as having a union.
Yeah. Well, but like WrestleMania season. I mean, everybody wants that WrestleMania paycheck. So what if for those 2 months you're off of WrestleMania?
Well, yeah, you're right. That's so it's not a good time. That's not a good time to have your vacation or your off season.
So like all hands on deck for, you have a full roster maybe from February to April, and then so those are like the you must work season. So everybody gets a chance to be in WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
We're just making it more complicated than it is. I think already.
Yeah. Roman Reigns, I hope you thought this out before you made that.
Yeah, Roman Reigns. This is like, wow, let's see you put this together.
Yeah.
Goodness. But
what else is
it would be
going
a good
on?
idea, though. It would be a good idea.
Yeah, I definitely do agree that the guys should get an extended period of time off every year.
Yeah. Paid.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Paid vacation.
Well, I know you wanted to give an update about Brian.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I had mentioned that to you before we started taping about the fact that I got a call this morning from our lawyer, Jeff Rosenblum. And, I mean, it's been, seems like a couple of months since I talked to Jeff. We went up to Bolivar and did open up the estate for Brian. And at that point, it made it where we could get some subpoenas. Because like I said before, a lot of people may not realize, but we've heard absolutely not one single word from the day Brian passed away till now. We've not heard one word from the sheriff's office, from the jail, from anybody connected with that. Not one single word. And it was the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation had an open investigation going, so they said we can't talk about it. And whenever we complete our investigation, then you'll be able to go in and get some more answers. Well, apparently they just completed their investigation and turned it over to the Attorney General there in Hardeman County, and it was just what we expected from them, but which they just said they absolve themselves of any wrongdoing or anything, that sort of thing. So, but now that is done, now Jeff Rosenblum's work really starts, because he gets subpoenas to, subpoena the camera footage from the jail, all of the go in and take pictures and see where all of this stuff happened. I mean, we don't even have a clue where any of this stuff actually took place. So anyway, that's going to be, it's actually really going to get started now in earnest, of our people being able to look at things. Up until now, it's just been, the state or the county looking at it the way they wanted to look at it. Jeff did tell me another thing. We've got another medical examiner looking at, it's like the top medical examiner out of the state of Arkansas is now going to look at Brian's autopsy results. And Jeff told me that just in passing, he just happened to run into this guy. Some people will maybe remember the name Jerry Francisco, especially if you're down around Memphis or anything. But Jerry Francisco was a coroner and medical examiner here in Memphis for many, many years. Kind of a famous guy in the fact that, and he's an older guy now because he's been around a long time. He actually did the autopsy on Martin Luther King.
Wow.
When Martin Luther King was shot here in Memphis. Then later on, Jerry Francisco did the autopsy on Elvis Presley.
Jeez. When
Elvis died. And so our lawyer, Jeff, just ran into Jerry Francisco, and he said, Jerry came up to him and said, hey, I just wanted to kind of volunteer to take a look at Brian's autopsy results. If you don't mind, I'd like to do that for you guys under one condition. He said, and Jeff said, what's that? He said, I don't want to be paid a penny. He said, I would just like to do it for Mr. Lawler, and just so that he could, hopefully get some closure on this thing. So I thought that was, they thought that was really neat thing, to have somebody with this guy's credentials and that sort of thing. He's going to take a look at it for us and just see what's going on. But, it's just so depressing. Yeah, naturally you'd like for justice to be done. If somebody did something wrong, they should be held accountable. But the other thing is, it's just, to me, just it's sad to think about.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to bring him back.
Yeah. And everything just keeps dragging on, and it's hard to get closure.
Yeah.
So, well, hopefully,
anyway,
people who help out and people who offer their services can help, and you have a credentialed, respectable guy that's going to look over the autopsy report and hopefully answer some questions that other people can't or won't do it.
Yep.
So,
And speaking of Brian, something that's coming up this coming Saturday night at the Memphis Grizzlies game. They've had, we talked about this, they've had tremendous success, the Grizzlies have, with having wrestling nights. In the past several seasons, they would have one wrestling night a year, and it was always the biggest promotion that they did of the year. Anyway, it did so well that for some reason or other, this season they decided to have 6 wrestling nights.
Wow.
And so this coming Saturday night, which is the 23rd, they're going to have a wrestling night, and it's going to kind of honor Brian, and we're going to have an actual match. And they're bringing in Brian's former partner, not Scotty 2 Hotty, but Rikishi. Oh. And Rikishi and I are going to team up to go against. Are you ready for this? I probably shouldn't be announcing this yet, but they have signed the Steiner brothers.
What?
Yes.
Rick and Scott?
Rick and Scott Steiner.
I mean, I'm not surprised about Scott because I know he's active, but Rick?
Rick and Scott Steiner are going to be there to go against me and Rikishi. So if you haven't got your ticket for the Grizzlies game this coming Saturday night, better get them right now. It's going to be a big night.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that is big, isn't it?
Well, Johnny Manziel, all know him as the former Browns quarterback. You know, Jerry and I didn't have high hopes on him. I know Jerry did.
I didn't have high hopes. I was so over the moon when they signed Johnny Manziel. It was just like they did now when they signed Baker Mayfield. And I was hoping that Johnny Manziel would be the guy that Baker Mayfield turned out to be. Yeah. But he had some personal problems. It didn't turn out good for him in Cleveland. But I was still a fan, and he got shipped off to the Canadian Football League. And now he's come back to the United States, and he's become Memphis Express quarterback for our spring league football team here.
Jeez. Well, good luck with that. I'm sure Beale Street will be booming with Manziel in town.
Oh, come on! I think he's promised to.
Yeah, I don't think he's drinking.
Changed his ways. Yeah, that's good. He was at the Boys and Girls Club of Memphis, right over here by my house, yesterday. All of a sudden, Peyton comes running in and said, "Oh my gosh, the Boys and Girls Club that I go to! Look who was just there a few minutes ago." And apparently Johnny Manziel put it up on his Instagram account, and he just made an appearance over there and hung out with the kids for a while. So it's better for him to be at places like that than it is down on Beale Street, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Well, Manziel,
but I'm going to invite him down to Beale Street and take him down to the VIP room and where everybody won't drive him nuts and everything, and just hang out a little bit. Give him some of the ribs, man. I got to give him some of the Memphis ribs.
Ask him about this time in Cleveland too. You can talk about the Browns.
I'm just wondering, does he have a bad taste in his mouth about the Browns? Does he blame the Browns, or does he blame himself?
Well, he did
that opportunity.
He did a podcast interview last year, and he wasn't really high on Cleveland. He believes that the atmosphere. I mean, the coaching staff wasn't the best at the time. We know that. So it was more of he didn't believe Cleveland was the right fit for him. Oh, so I'm sure he.
Let me see if I can get him on the podcast.
I don't think he'll do it.
Really?
Without maybe monetary.
I see.
But I don't think you'll have pleasant things to say about Cleveland, at least off the record.
Well, we don't have to have him say pleasant things. It'd be cool to have Johnny Manziel on the podcast.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if you're the king, you have pull that I don't. So I mean, if you can get Johnny Manziel, it'd be great. I'm sure he's a wrestling fan.
Why is that?
He was at Raw. Remember, he was at Raw in Cleveland when he signed with. He was at first row at Raw one time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Seth Rollins made a not even Johnny Idiot can save the Browns.
Oh,
I know Seth Rollins.
I bet Seth wouldn't. I bet he regrets saying that. That's just like people every now and then remind me of the fact that Vince made me wear that Baltimore Ravens jersey out to the ring one time in Cleveland.
You hated that. Waving.
Oh, I hated it worse than anything. Can you imagine?
Waving a Ravens pennant in the air, and
oh my god,
the Ravens jersey, and you said to the crowd, I left 2 tickets at will call for the Modells. If you're sitting next to them, don't bother.
Oh man.
How about those Ravens? Oh my God. We talked about that plenty on the podcast. Oh, that's for someone that's a Browns fan to put on a Ravens jersey and then be seen in public to millions of people all over the world, that had to be terrible.
Terrible.
It's like you lost a bet.
Yep. All right. Hey, I need to plug a couple things if I can. April 30th. Well, no, not May 30th. It's before April 6th. May 30th, I'm going to be down at Fitz Casino. And speaking of my barbecued ribs, I'm going to have like 500 bottles of my barbecue sauce down there. And we're going to have a big barbecue cookout party at Fitz Casino. So I want to invite everybody down. That's on Saturday, May the 30th. Let's get there in the afternoon. And we're going to have I'm going to have free barbecue sauce for everybody that comes down there.
Sauce.
Fitz Casino. And speaking of Fitz Casino, we got to look. I'm looking at, and I talked to you about this as well too. It's time to look for new sponsors for my TV show because we're starting brand new TV shows on April the 6th. Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling, WLMT, CW30 here in Memphis. All new shows starting April 6th. And if you're in Memphis and you want to be a sponsor, call Glenn, right?
Yeah, or you can just email info@podavenue.com.
Yeah.
Or dinnerwiththeking@podavenue.com. Either one. Info is the easiest one. There's a link on the website. Podavenue.com is the website, and you'll be directly in contact with the King for any kind of sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Anything else, King?
I'm trying to think of any wrestling shows I got coming up. Oh gosh.
WrestleMania is only a couple weeks away too.
WrestleMania is a couple weeks away, but I'm sure I'm doing something before that. Every time I look at this, I think, man, how old school is this? I still have a book. All the wrestlers used to keep a date book and stuff with all their dates and stuff in it, and I still do. I can't put it all. Let's see. Heck, Friday night we're wrestling up in Cincinnati.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay.
We're wrestling in Cincinnati, and then the Grizz game Saturday night. And then the next thing is the Fitz Casino on the 30th. And then it's WrestleCon, WrestleMania, all that wrestle stuff.
Are you doing a show with JR?
Yeah, I'm doing a show. That'll probably be our last one of those, don't you think?
Yep. I don't think you'll be doing those together.
That's the way he's been advertising it.
Yeah.
It's probably the last show together. That's going to be on Saturday at what's the name of the place we're doing it at? Yeah, man, come on.
I don't know.
Edit this out. Wait, I can look it up.
I'm pulling up JR. I know he pubs it out every 5 seconds. Let's see. Okay, it's going to be at Gotham Comedy Club.
That's it.
Together for the last time? Question mark.
Yeah, and that's at noon on Saturday, April 6th.
10:30 a.m. VIP meet and greet.
Ooh, 10:30.
It's $35 for a general admission, $85 to meet the King and JR. April 6th at noon. And then you have WrestleCon. You're going to be making appearances at WrestleCon.
Yep.
Are you doing any wrestling at WrestleCon? I know last year you did the whole thing with Joey Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Let me just tell you this. I probably shouldn't say it or sound, unappreciative or anything. But they did call me up and ask me to be a part of. Apparently, Joey Ryan is having something. Do you know what it's called that he's having?
Oh, a penis party.
Yeah. And I said, no, I do not want to be involved with that at all.
So they invited you to the penis party.
Yeah, they wanted to know if I could do commentary on one of his matches. I said, no.
Oh my God!
Can't do that.
I saw that. I don't know what people would go to a penis party.
Well, for some reason, there are certainly not Jim Cornette. He would. But anyway, he had some fans.
Did you see the latest shenanigans with Joey Ryan?
Did it involve the girl that had the?
Yes.
We can't even. It's impossible to even talk about this stuff.
Well, Without being too graphic, so you saw what happened.
I didn't see it, no.
Oh my God! But you know what happens, though.
I heard, I think.
Should we describe it to the fans listening?
No, I don't think so, because like I have families listening, like the Carpenters.
We could say we could say it in a PG way.
No, I don't think you can.
Well, Carpenters, earmuffs.
No.
Earmuffs.
Let's not even go there.
Well, if you want to look it up, I'm sure you just look up Joey Ryan on Twitter or something.
Yeah, there you go.
But the kids don't search Joey Ryan.
Yeah, don't you dare search Joey Ryan.
Don't search Joey Ryan. It's not for the kids.
No, not at all.
All right. Final word. Oh no, I can't do that anymore. Oops.
Yeah, forget the final word.
Forget the final word. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube. We're on.
What are we on Instagram?
Dinner with King.
Oh.
And
I'm on Real Jerry Lawler on Instagram, too.
You're also at Jerry Lawler on Twitter. I'm at Glenn Moore CLE. At Dinner with King on Twitter as well. We have, like I said, on all the podcast platforms or any device. You can listen on your phone, TV, anything you want. We are there.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. All right, King. We'll talk to everybody next week here on Dinner with the King.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.
Greetings, wrestling fans. This is Dave Dynasty, host of the Dave Dynasty Show, the podcast that every week brings you nearly 2 hours of pro wrestling goodness from the Midwest. We feature interviews with the legends of the past, stars of today, and the prospects of tomorrow. We have segments that feature classic wrestling audio, whole episodes devoted to the history of Midwest pro wrestling, and much, much more. Do not miss an episode of the Dave Dynasty Show. We are available on all podcast platforms, or you can access past episodes and all of our social media links by visiting davedynasty.com. Be good, be safe, and keep on growing.